Howdy, Browns fans. Welcome into the Browns Report by Chat Sports. My name is Moose, and on today's episode, we're going through all of the Browns' second round of OTAs and the takeaways from it. And you'll note that in not only the title of this video, but as you go along, we're going to see how some players have been standing out and how some players have needed to handle a little bit of criticism. And this, of course, is why you subscribe. All season long, you're going to get free, informative, entertaining Browns content. So do me a favor, if you haven't already, hit that big red subscribe button. It is completely free. And with that being said, on to the takeaways. All right, the first one. Tommy Rees' quarterback flow is humming. Don't get it twisted. This doesn't necessarily mean that the Browns quarterbacks have been playing amazing. There have been some noted struggles between some of the quarterbacks, if not all the quarterbacks. But it should be noted that the rotation of the quarterback flow is really coming along well. And Tommy Rees had this to say about the quarterback rotation. He said, these are the days where we have probably the most reps to go around. So we're able to balance every single player out. But all those guys have done a great job coming into work and understanding that each day is going to be a little bit different than the last. And it's just an evaluation process for the Browns coaching staff. They want to be able to look at not only veteran Joe Flacco and veteran Kenny Pickett, but the two rooks, Gabriel and Sanders, and just kind of how they gel with different players on the roster. And it should be noted that this particular week, the 11 on 11 and 7 on 7 pairings saw Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett together, surprise, surprise, and Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders together. Now, there have been ebbs and flows throughout the week. You know, there have been notes that Pickett almost threw 2 really bad red zone interceptions and that Flacco had some good reps and Shedeur had some great reps and Gabriel had great reps. It's just going to be a constant back and forth between good and bad, especially during OTAs. I should mention, though, that Flacco and Pickett definitely both threw touchdowns, at least yesterday. So Pickett and Flacco seem to be taking the majority right now of the first team reps, which is to be expected again, but there isn't a far catch-up process with Gabriel and Sanders. In fact, according to Kimberly A. Martin, who is a ESPN reporter, there are some signs that are pointing to a real competition with both rookies having a real shot at the quarterback job. So everything right now, at least to what we're reading, is assuming that there's no particular one player that has the advantage over the other. All 4 of them have an equal shot right now to at least win the starting job. Does that mean that it's going to be a rook? Does that mean that it's going to be Flacco? I don't necessarily know the answer to that right now. It's still, early June. We have a long way to go before we figure out any sort of, QB1 identifier. But if I had to put my money on it, it would be Flacco, and then it would probably be, a combination of Shedeur or Gabriel. I don't think Pickett is going to be end up as the quarterback too. So that's the quarterback flow and how it seems to be working right now at OTAs. The second takeaway. The defensive presence is showing itself off right now, mainly the defensive line. I mean, I don't think it needs to be said. That is the strength of this Browns football team. If you just take a look at some of the players that were mentioned, all 4 of these guys were mentioned as having some really great standout plays throughout the week. And I have to give the Browns defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, credit. He has an aggressive attacking style mentality when it comes to this Browns defense. And that's exactly what he wants to see out of first-round pick number 5 overall, Mason Graham, who, by the way, had to take a little bit of constructive criticism yesterday. Schwartz talked about it and kind of what he, saw and how he had to coach a little bit out of Graham. He said, we're a penetrating team that makes a big emphasis on the defensive lineman being able to make the plays. So there have been some growing pains, which is to be expected. He's a rookie. He's pretty far ahead right now, which is good. But when we get the pads on, that'll be the next step. So being able to make that full contact, that full explosion, and go up against the hog mollies on the offensive line. He goes on to say that it's a process for Mason Graham, which I love to hear because that is the term that we have to be okay with. It's a process, not to go off of what, the Philadelphia 76ers message, trust the process. No, not necessarily like that. But you took Graham for a reason. He's got explosive power. and his skill set is malleable. You can bend and mold to the way that you want him to play on the defensive line. He'll be just fine. But you have to remember, this is his first experience in the NFL. It's going to take a minute for him to get used to the speed. And that means also that week one, you might not see the full range of the Mason Graham production, which again is okay. Defensive line is one of those positions where it takes a little bit of time to get used to the strength and athleticism of the offensive lineman. It's not like running back where you come out of, college and week one, you're in the best shape of your life. You can play the position just like everybody else, and your immediate explosive growth into the NFL. Defensive line, quarterback, those are some positions where it just takes a little bit more time to get used to the speed and strength of the NFL. Now, I do want to mention some of my defensive pillars, at least for the Browns, heading into 2025. 4 key points that I believe you really kind of want to focus on and have as sort of a mentality going into the 2025 season. The first one being you got to dominate the line of scrimmage. I said before, the Browns' strength of this defense is the defensive line. They're going to be the ones that put the pressure on the quarterback. They're going to make or break the game. The secondary, a little bit worse for wear, the safeties being one big question mark that I have, at least in my mind right now. So I'm adopting the bend but don't break mentality in the secondary. I'm fine with giving up chunk yardage plays from the, inside the 20 to the opposite 20. For those yards, you've got to make sure that, hey, we're allowing the plays where they need to happen, but inside the 20s, that's where you got to lock up. That's where you've got to be playing your best defensive football. So bend but don't break in the secondary. Stay situationally aggressive. Schwartz's style, like I said, emphasizes that aggressiveness, but you don't want to have too much aggressiveness. Brian Flores is notorious for being a heavy blitzer. He's the defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. And one thing that I will say about him is during the regular season, he mixes up his defensive blitz packages really well, and he blitzes heavy, but it gets exposed the further along that you get into the season. The more tape you have on a play style, the more understanding you have of a defensive coordinator's kind of philosophy, you can attack different areas of their defense to make sure that, it doesn't get stale for you, at least on offense. So that's one thing I think the Browns also have to do. Keep a nice balance of situational aggressiveness. And finally, lean into the Garrett effect. Garrett's most likely, if not always, going to be double-teamed. So that allows other players on the defensive line to have moments where they're one-on-one and can bully their way into opposing quarterbacks. So all 4 of these things, if you can lean into what these, 4 pillars are, you're going to be very, very successful, at least on defense in 2025. All right. Now, before we get into our third and final takeaway, name a breakout defensive candidate in 2025. Either way, doesn't matter who it is, put it in the comment section down below and defend your answer. Coming in with our final OTA takeaway, the rookies shining on the field. You love to see this. This is what every single Browns fan should be focused on tremendously during OTAs. We all know that the veterans, we've seen what they can do on the NFL football field. The rookies have yet to do that, so watching them progress throughout OTAs should be at the highest of your priority list. Now I'm going to break down 2 in particular that have been shining, during this OTA week. But first, before I do that, make sure that you use this link that I've put in the comments and description of today's video to start shopping with Fanatics today. We've got a little bit of a handshake deal going on with them. So if you want to support the channel, if you use this link to start shopping, you will help out us tremendously. So I put this deal right here for this Nike t-shirts, 40% off, but there's deals like this all the time. So again, use this link in the comments and description of today's video and start shopping today. All right, so Jordan Hicks, veteran linebacker, had this to say about Carson Schwessinger. You see his natural ability to just be in the right spot at the right time. and Schlesinger was one of the players that has definitely been standing out. He reads things fast. His ability to get downhill, especially in this type of defense for a linebacker, is much to be applauded. Any rookie that can come in and understand the speed of the game, the speed of having to see things move and making sure that you're always in the right spot is a very undervalued trait, especially for somebody who is so young. So I think it goes without saying. Let's just talk about Carson's strengths, right? The diagnosis of the offensive plays from a linebacker position, that cerebralness, is what you really want to see. The second being his instincts to swarm around the football. You've got to have a nose for where and what plays are going to develop where. And his excellent range and versatility. Can you move up inside of the box and play the run stopping? Can you shift back into pass coverage? All of those things lead me to believe that you're going to be a high caliber linebacker in the NFL. And that's what you want to see. You can lack in one of these areas, but it seems like Carson is just doing an amazing job at all three phases of his game, which is so great to be seeing, especially from somebody who could potentially become a signal caller. Okay. Quinshon Judkins is the other one, the other rookie that needs to be mentioned. And a lot of people have been beyond impressed with his playmaking ability. In fact, there was one particular instance that Sports Illustrated noted being at OTAs, and they said there was one play in particular that really stood out where Judkins made a ridiculous cut to bounce back of a play outside for a big game. He looked consistently strong during those OTAs, and on a team with a lot of questions at several key positions, Judkins is the clear indicator at running back. He's going to be special. Big words right there. Tough shoes to fill. But here's my take from it all. The Browns are going to be shifting to a more run-focused offense, especially with Tommy Rees coming in at offensive coordinator. And as somebody who loves the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, Rees was a big proponent of wide zone scheme running, which is exactly what Kevin Stefanski was when he came in as the Browns head coach, first of all. You saw last year they got away with it with Ken Dorsey. Now they're getting back to a more run-dominated focus of offense. And with question marks at quarterback, that's a great thing to hear. And it's going to be centered around Quinshon Judkins. I can't wait to watch him step onto the field. Long video, I realize it. And if you've made it this far, do me a favor, type real one down in the comment section down below. It proves to us that you're watching all of our videos from start to end, so type real one down in the comment section down below. That's going to do it for us on today's episode of the Browns Report. Remember to subscribe, like the video, and as always, be cool.